Manchester United fans don't want any more big-time Charlies at United. And with Jason Wilcox laying out the club's vision and strategy to recruit clean living professionals, I am sure it's music to every single Manchester United fan's ears. Get involved as usual in the live chat. If you are joining us later on, get involved in that comment section and smash that like button. What did you make of Jason Wilcox's interview?
We've got a plan. We've got a plan. That's all we've been hearing as United fans. But as fans, what we've been asking for is an understanding of what's different under this regime. And to be honest with you, I think we got it. Jason Wilcox has provided an insight into his role as director of football and the plans for the future. And I think he's nailed it. I'm comfortable with what I'm reading, and I've read it a couple of times. And I suggest you all do the same, because it was absolutely, it opened my eyes to what's going on and what went on under the previous regime.
We'll start getting into it in depth shortly, but I want to ring off a couple of comments that are already coming through in the live chat. Some man for one man says, we want players we can relate to as fans, committed to Manchester United. Then despite what financial differences separate us, we're all sharing the same goal. Fred Cranham from our members club says, I wonder if this is a nod from the hierarchy that more of the academy players need to come into reckoning simply because of the financial situation. Yarley also says, I like Wilcox. He has found decent players, a few for the future. I sure will not be angry at United actually speaking to us publicly. It's refreshing, actually. I also want twists and turns on everything said.
I look at Fred's comment there on the youth, for instance, and it's professionalism. I don't think it's about money. I think when you talk about the recruitment, when you listen to Jason Wilcox talking about the players, what are bringing in, the background checks, everything else like that, which we'll get onto, I think that goes right through the club. I think these youth players and younger have been told this is how you've got to behave at Manchester United, the standards and everything. Jason Wilcox goes into and he provides an insight into how these players were and what they were up to, really. And you've got to read between the lines in what he's saying. He's actually decimating how this club was run. But you know, under Woodward and everything else like that, the recruitment, how it was done, how poorly it was, and how unprofessional it was. And I think that's what I take from a lot of this. It's how professional Jason Wilcox and the rest of the team are. So for me, they undermine everything what's gone on, and they've completely changed it round. And I, for one, give it a 10 out of 10, this interview.
Yeah, Yarley did say at the end of his comment previously that I won't twist and turn on everything that's said. And I just want to know what your positive takes were from that interview in the chat so we can discuss it today. And one of the things that we've highlighted already, even in the actual thumbnail and title today, is that he actually said, Wilcox, it is really important that we do background checks on whether they are clean living professionals. That is really important.
Well, this is the thing. This is where I'm saying you read between the lines. What he's saying is the previous regime didn't do that. Oh, we've got all the money. It doesn't really matter. Just pay it and all that. Don't worry about it. That's what I see. Clean living players. You would have thought that would have been the thing they would have looked at first. What type of attitude is he? What's in the background? What's the rumours? What's the stories and everything else? That's part and parcel of what a club should be doing year after year when recruiting players, when they're spending that much money. But it just shows you how these people, what were running the club, just failed to do all that. We've seen players, I could give you a list. I'm sure you could give me a bigger list. And that goes to the youth, how their professionalism was just left to go away. I look at it and say to myself, players were signed and there was no thought given to who they really were. Whereas this outfit, right, is looking into it and it is the main priority. And Jason Wilcox tells you it's straight, and the criticism is there, but not in words.
give a lot of praise as well, and back into the summer signing Benjamin Sesko. I have actually put the quotes in the live chat, but we will get onto him shortly. But I want to know your thoughts and opinions on that. And he did say the most important thing is that whenever we bring a player in, they have to want to improve. They have to want to be a team player and understand what it means to be part of a successful team. Whereas over the years, it has had that feeling that players here, well, the players are coming here not to really improve. They're just happy to sit here and collect the high wages.
Well, what it is, they have weekly meetings and they look at everything. And what it is, the recruitment, what he's talking about is they're not bringing in a player, a big-time Charlie. They're bringing in a player to fit in the team. And I think that goes back to the early days of like, well, when you get a manager in, you want to carry on that if a manager loses, so you don't have a squad who's then different to what's going with the new manager. You have players what will fit the system. That's how I see it. We have the plan, he says. We knew the plan when recruiting players. We knew the targets, and we also had our list of players. So the players are for the team. They're not the big-time Charlies, the expensive money, like it was previously.
Yeah, previously. I mean, we've heard it a few times from Louis van Gaal, our ex-manager, saying it was more of a commercial club.
Yes.
And you do feel a lot of the signings that they made at Man United, it was for actual commercial reasons, shirt selling, sponsorships, etc., more so than what they can do on the pitch and whether they can actually fit into a long-term footballing strategy.
Well, that's what it is. They're looking in the transfer market, finding players to fit the team. He explained, especially the first transfer window, that it was chaotic. But the second transfer window, what's just gone, they had more time to plan for the targets and everything. And as I said, like they have weekly meetings with the recruitment team and get clear profiles of players. But this is going on throughout the year. This isn't just like waiting for the summer or waiting for January. They have everybody. Christopher Vell, they talk to Ruben Amorim. This is going on a weekly basis. And he says he gets absolutely inundated, right, from agents and everything, Mither, all over the place. But they have a targets and they have a weekly meeting. So for me, I think when you look at what's going on to the previous regime, it's chalk and cheese.
Maybe I'm a little bit out of touch with modern day football, but I was actually surprised that they have weekly meetings to do with recruitment, to be honest with you. I don't know about yous out there, but I thought that might go on maybe once a month, not weekly. So, when we're approaching now the January transfer window, my ears have definitely pricked up as to think, well, can they do any business now? Is there any targets for that window?
Well, this is good to hear, because what they're doing is they're working on recruitment all year round, and it's a plan. And it's a professionally run club. I mean, a lot of fans have ridiculed what's been going on because we've not understood or we've not heard people explain things. Now they're coming out explaining things. And to hear that they're having weekly meetings and that they have a clear strategy, what the type of players they want to bring in, I think the future looks great. I don't think it's a bluff. I really think the future looks really well for Manchester United. Yes, it will take a couple of years to get all the right players in for the team, for what they want, to challenge for the league, to challenge for Champions League. So for me, I think we just got to sit on our hands, get through this year, and then we move on, because the plan is there, and it's a clear plan, and it's a plan I fully endorse.
Yeah, with him touching on actual recruitment, he talked about last summer, and he said last summer was chaotic. This one was calm. We had a plan. We knew the targets. We knew the process. And when you look at the targets that they actually brought in, you can tell it was calm and they had a plan. The only thing that I have got a little bit uneasy with, in a way, and I've got to be honest with you out there, was in how late they actually got the goalkeeper in, Le Mans. I think if Onana wouldn't have had a poor game like he did do against Grimsby, I'm not too sure whether we would have got Le Mans, to be honest with you.
I think it goes back to the plan of what they were trying to do. I always said with Onana, they were hoping to keep him for another year and he would improve. And you have to remember, Ruben Amorim was here, been brought in to improve some of these players. And clearly the goalkeeper needed improving. But like you say, the Grimsby game, I think they had to commit and get a new goalkeeper. And I think maybe the issue about cost, money, everything else came into it. They were trying to save money. You know what they've done? All the cost cutting and everything. And they just thought, right, come on, let's try Onana. Let's get him playing football. Let's get him to a decent standard. But that certainly was never going to happen, especially when he walked in, Onana, and he turned around and asked for a pay rise. Well, that was right off the scale. I think they should have acted straight away as soon as he walked in. But hey, it's been done now. They've acted, and you can't ask for more.
Yeah, he did talk about all the data as well that they do gather for these weekly meetings in terms of recruitment. And Tony Colton as well had been looking at Le Mans for at least 12 months. And the way he actually described it, Wilcox, was as though he kept on pushing it in his ear constantly over the last few months about having to sign, and we must sign Le Mans as the goalkeeper.
Well, you can sort of like look at it. I look at how these signed players, they've got a list. He talks about having a list of players, okay? That's what they're looking at. Then they also look at, well, hang on a minute. They've got a list, but we get sort of like stories every other day about this player connected to this player. But he explained what was going on. And what was going on is he's getting text messages and phone calls all the time that he can't sleep, that he's having to leave his phone downstairs. And that if he forgets, he's being woke up by text and phone calls at all hours, all times of the day. So you imagine what was going on with the previous regime. That's not the way to do it. What you do is you have your targets, and they've got the targets. I don't think that's going on anymore, where all them phone calls and them text messages are coming. I think he's just highlighting and talking between the lines, going, this is how erratic and this is how the recruitment was done. And I'm telling you, this is the plan, this is the targets, this is the list, this is how we do it on a weekly basis. Forget the past, but I'm just letting you know how unprofessional it was, and I've got it under control. And I do believe, listening to him and reading his comments, he has got it under control, and everything going forward will be run in a proper professional manner, not like the chaos and the virus what run through this football club for over a decade.
I mean, we'll have different of opinions here and what you want to hear from inside your football club and from who, but I would much rather listen to Jason Wilcox, being a football man, knowing about how to set up strategies and recruitment, more so really than the co-owner, Sir Jim Ratcliffe. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it's the strategy. I look at what he's talking.
Like a proper footballing chat, what you was listening to for me.
Well, it was a proper footballing chat, and it was full explanations of what's going on here and in the future. And they've got the strategy, they've got the plan, and to listen to it, I just sit back and relax, because I think to myself, okay, ups and downs, that's what we're going to have this year. There's no two ways about that. Okay, just like the first season in the transfer market was chaotic, but they've had more time to plan. Now they're planning further and further ahead. And I just sit back and relax. I feel comfortable, no matter what happens this year, that the future is bright. And I just look at it all and say to myself, clean living professionals.
Yeah.
Clean living professionals. Now, that's some statement for Jason Wilcox to come out with.
Do you think that's like a thinly veiled dig at previous players on off-the-pitch activity?
I don't think it's thinly veiled. It's not thinly veiled. It's a clear, like, hey, there was some utter garbage brought in here who just came in for the money. And we all know that. We all know that by the attitudes of some of these players, what we've seen. We all know that by the time Ruben Amorim turned around and says, right, there's the list. There's the deadwood. They're getting out. They're only here for one thing. It's not thinly veiled. It's a clear statement of these players, what were in this club, and not just the signings, the people what was already in this club who have come through the junior ranks, because there were some terrible attitudes by younger players coming through the ranks.
Mick the Leg says the Grimsby game was a blessing in disguise. I think you're reverting back to our discussion on Onana, and if you are, mate, I totally agree with that. Some man for one man says the exodus of the big time Charlies has been refreshing. I recognised instantly that we're making positive strides. And Fred the Red, the legend, has gifted 5 memberships.
Top man.
The 5 people who've been gifted their memberships, a big thank you to Fred. And another comment that he did make, which will resonate amongst a lot of Manchester United fans, is that Manchester United is bigger than any player, any manager and any staff member. We are custodians, and at some point our journey will end.
Well, this is the difference between Wilcox and his statement and what was going on previously. All the players run the club.
Do you think that a big change with inside Manchester United now is that the actual pressure on people like Wilcox and Barada is there, that they have to perform and they have to turn Manchester United around? Whereas in the past, it was more so like a thought process and dedication to making sure that about the commercial side of the club, the revenues, what they were bringing in, more so than what they were doing on the pitch. Or the pressure's there now that everyone has to get to them standards.
Well, I don't think it's pressure. I think what it is, it's professionalism, okay? The standards before was all about money and everything, the commercial side of it. Jason Wilcox and Bevel and Ruben Amorim have got a job to do, and they're doing it in a professional manner. I have no worries in what they're doing. And yes, it might take time to work, but listening and also going back in time, you know, you look at the Grimsby, and we can all rewrite history in that, and we can all look at it in a different way. But that Grimsby game, and he's right, it was a blessing in disguise because it made Man United act when they were going to give Onana the opportunity to improve. And it's worked out perfectly. Onana had a disastrous game. Ruben Amorim didn't play a good part in that game with his antics on the sideline. But it's all worked out well. So for me, history, it's great when you look back.
He also mentioned for us to compete consistently for the top 4 and major trophies, we have to invest wisely in the right characters as well as the right players. Is it too soon to think that Manchester United can get into the Champions League places by the end of the season?
I think it's too soon. I do. I think it's too soon.
Based on what you've seen at the moment, what is it? What's
just based on the Premier League itself, how hard it is, how tough it is. When you look at, have we got enough people on the bench to come on and turn a game round?
Yeah.
Injuries and everything else like that. Is this squad a great squad? No, it's a good squad, but is it capable? Yes, people will say we're playing 1 game a week. That's immaterial. People get injuries, people go off form, and it doesn't always work out. So for me, I don't think the squad's big enough. I don't think the quality is good enough to compete in this Premier League, to challenge. And if we get Champions League, fantastic. I'll be the first to shout out, but I don't see it at the moment. And I think their plan is to improve year on year. And I think they've had a bit of a setback. But now they're all in line with each other, and they're going for it, and they're hoping to get Champions League like we all are. And if we do, fantastic.
Yeah, I certainly think it's possible that we can get that 5th place if that's up for grabs this year in qualifying for the Champions League. But I also think we've got to have a lot of luck as well with players not getting injured this season. I understand that we've only got 1 game a week, but apart from maybe 13, possibly 14 players, you need a strong squad, don't you? Like you've just mentioned, that's coming off the bench as well, to actually go up there and have a charge into them Champions League places.
Look, let's get something straight here. Everyone out there as well. Anything's possible. Anything's possible, okay? But the one thing, what will happen, especially in the summer, is that the monies will be used for transfers to bring in new players. He clearly states that. He said it before. Even Sir Jim Ratcliffe has said we're going to invest. So all this penny pinching and everything, we'll see the fruits of that next summer in the accounts and everything. And then any more money what comes in. And depending on what happens, if we do qualify for the Champions League, there's the bonus. So there'll be more money invested. But the good thing is money will be invested in the squad wisely. It will not be frittered away like we've seen it, 70-odd million pound on people like Sancho, Anthony, So for me, there's many more other players as well where we've wasted money. That won't happen again because he clearly outlines the strategy and how we're going to recruit players. And I'm 100% more relaxed at this strategy and the way they're doing it than what's gone on previously, which absolutely drove us all mad.
Yeah, just going to go into the chat. Nikos P says pressure is a privilege. Some man for one man and others as well. We're confident that we can actually get top 4 as well. And I did mention earlier on in the show about his backing for Benjamin Sesko, as there's been a bit of slander, I think, on Sesko since that Nottingham Forest game. And he said, Benji at the top, he's going to be an amazing player. It's difficult to be the number 9 at United. And I know sometimes that Cunha and Brian are getting a lot of credit. But the runs that Benji is making is also helping Mateus Cunha and Brian as well. All 4 of them have done really well. The summer signing from last year, they are top professionals.
Well, he thinks Sesko's been unfairly targeted. And I do as well. And I think he's been playing well. I have explained. And I think a lot of people out there have took it on board that he's not getting the service. But as Jason Wilcox points out, he's making the runs, he's there, but the ball's just not coming to him all the time. But that will improve as time goes on. Listen, he said United attracts a lot of scrutiny, but he also has the confidence in him that he will be an amazing striker. I don't know about amazing striker, but he's got the confidence in him. But I do believe, looking at him, I believe he is a good striker and he will benefit as time goes on this year. We are still learning, okay, about some of these players, what have been brought in. And also, Ruben Amorim, he's still at times sort of like mixing it up with how we picked this team. So nothing is straight and narrow, nothing hunky-dory here. There is still little gambles being played out there on that pitch.
Stu Cantona from our members club. I love this show. Your honesty is unrivaled.
Cheers, mate.
You say it how it is. Never change and never do watch-alongs. In 2 years, we'll be challenging with 5 to 6 new signings. Well, we don't currently do watch-alongs, mate, but this channel will evolve. I promise you that. Maybe more towards the end of this season, but definitely next season. So stick with us, subscribe, and let's all get on this journey and grow this Webby and O'Neill community because it's a top one. Fred Crampton from our members club says, the squad is only good if he uses it. You may be pointing to the likes of Xerxes, Mainu not really getting enough game time. You know, elaborate on that for me, my mate.
Look, there's pressure on this club, but I'll tell you something now. When you're winning, there is no pressure. Manchester United come under scrutiny every day of every week, every month, every year. It's the size of Manchester United. But when you're winning, players don't feel the pressure. The pressure's there when things aren't going well, not just on the pitch, in the background and everything else like that, okay? We are a professionally run football club now where the pressure will be taken off these players. They were allowed to run amok. The virus was right through this football club. But when you take the pressure off the players, getting them behaving in a professional manner, the pressure gets less and less. And when you start winning and when you start competing for trophies, what's the pressure? You're out there loving it.
Pressure's for tyres, but that word gets mentioned quite a bit, pressure, and it's already been done so in today's video. I've not heard Jason Wilcox, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, etc., even though they talk about Champions League and that's where Manchester United belong, as though that's the target though this year. That surely is being discussed though inside the club, but nothing publicly amongst fans and the wider audiences. So
they've been discussed last year.
Yeah, but is it a good thing though?
No, look.
Because listen to me. If I was sat there with Jason Wilcox or Sir Jim Ratcliffe, I would want to know what the targets are for this year for my football club. But them questions don't get asked, and never did they elaborate on it themselves. So I'm just asking you, is that a wise move, not saying things publicly, what the targets are this year?
Listen, you say targets, they're hoping to get in the Champions League. That's how I see it. But what they have a strategy behind that, okay? Lean, have a lean business, have a sustainable business, have a business what can pay for itself without having to get in the Champions League. This is what all this penny pinching's been all about. Yes, they want the Champions League. They want to compete for the league. They know that is not sustainable at this moment, and everything has to come together. This team will improve. It will have an opportunity to get in the Champions League. Where will it be able to sustain that challenge? That's the big if. And no one can say that they will be able to sustain trying to get in the top 4. They might fade away. And these people aren't daft. They know that. They know players can turn and get tired. They know players can get injured. And once that January goes, there's not a thing any plan or any target or any list can do. It's then the next 3-4 months is what they've got, and they'll have to make the most of it. And for me, going up to Christmas is so vital that we put in a challenge and keep picking up plenty of points, because come the turn of the year, things just might go downhill. But who knows? And they don't know. They don't know. Yes, they'd love the Champions League. Let's get in there. That's the target. Is it optimistic? Some people think it is. I think it is. But some people say it's a must.
Yeah, just something.
But that's an opinion. Sorry.
Yeah, no, of course. Like something just rattling through my brain there with talking about targets. That because of how poor last season was, that the short-term target from the start of the season till Christmas was a focus on just seeing improvement with the squad and the manager as well. And then at Christmas, let's reevaluate it and then see where we can go in the second half of the season.
Look, I think the summer signings told you there was going to be improvement. There was definitely going to be an improvement no matter what. But there was also going to be a definite improvement when you've seen that squad together. When you've seen that Deadwood out, you know, the people what have been moved out, they were just a cancer on this club. Now, the professionalism and everything, there was always going to be an improvement. And when you buy quality like Kuna, Sesko and Mbumo, right, and you've got Le Mans as a goalkeeper, what just makes everyone so relaxed on the field and off the pitch, right, there was definitely going to be an improvement. How big that improvement, only at the end of the year will we know.
A lot of you's getting involved and a lot of positivity in terms of where we actually will finish this season. A lot of yous are saying Champions League, which I think is really good to see, to be honest with you.
Well, that's the hope every United fan would want. And I think everyone inside the club would hope for that. But you also have to be realistic as well.
Yeah, it's going back into the chat. DG says, Best United show on YouTube. So many clown town, fake ego channels like such and such and other channels. Solid show, boys. Keep going.
Thank you.
Thanks for the positive words for the channel, my mate. And yeah, just like to big up every single one of you in the Webby and O'Neill community. It's you that makes it, and it makes an interesting read for myself every morning going through your comments on the previous show.
I think what it is, you have to look forward and you have to be positive. And I think there's no other way to look at it. Yes, we can turn around and we can criticise a player for not playing well. That's normal. That's not a criticism of the club. But I'm looking at it as a club now. The virus doesn't seem to be inside Manchester United like it used to be. That's all we ever said. Virus in the club, virus. Doesn't seem that way. It's professional. And it gives you hope. And that's what you want. Yes, we'll have our ups and downs. We'll have our moans and whatever. But the big picture and the reality of this football club, right, is that this regime is completely different than the regime what was run under Woodward and what's his name?
Richard Arnold.
And Richard, I always forget his name, right? Because he just grates me. So under Woodward and Richard Arnold, it was just a free-for-all, people running around, running amok. It was not run professionally. And the whole basis of this Jason Wilcox interview is in between and not what he's saying. And you have to sort of understand he's criticising big time what went on before without actually using the words. And I like it. I really, really like it, because it puts no one in doubt what went on before and what's happening now. And what's happening now is a plan and hope for the future.
Just diving into the chat, some man for one man says, Andy Mitten claiming he knows the centre midfield is our priority signing. Well, I think if you're a Manchester United fan in general, whether you've watched 1 or 2 games this season, you can tell that Man United need that centre midfielder. Ricky Red says, I'm hearing from reliable media sources, Elliot Anderson wants the United move. Well, let's hope so, because he does look like a talented footballer. For me, it's someone we discussed at the end of the transfer window alongside Baleba, but I wouldn't make any hasty decisions right now, whether it's inside the club or us as fans. Let's just see how they get on for the rest of the season. I mean, Baleba come here for Brighton, played at Old Trafford. Did he pass the test, in your opinion? I think you said he didn't.
No, he didn't for me, but it doesn't take the brains of Britain to tell you we need an holding central midfield player, does it? Okay, and if you're a reporter, okay, don't be giving your opinions. Okay, let's give us facts. We know what's going on.
Journalism, you mean? Doing proper journalism.
Doing proper journalism. If you want to come out with comments, right, and opinions, say it. But we all know, everybody knows. How long has everybody been talking about a holding midfield player? Okay, yes, United are going to target it. We know they're going to target it because the conversation about Baleba and the club was going on. It was just the money what probably held United back. And next transfer window in the summer, right, they will go for a holding central midfield player and 1 or 2 more. We all know that as fans, because what we see on the pitch isn't perfect, and we know there's improvement to come. And United have said it time and time again. So for me, give an opinion, it's great. We all know. And that's me having a little bit of a rant at someone who should know better.
Okay, I was just thinking about Mainu and Xerxes, just going back on what we said earlier on, and a lot of the news out there, whether you think it's journalism reports or just made up fluff, is exactly what I leave in January on a loan move. Now, I do like Kobbie Mainu. I think I've made that pretty clear over the last couple of years. But I feel uneasy about the likes of Mainu and Xerxes wanting to go out on loan, then them thinking and expecting they can just come back in the summertime. I wouldn't be happy with that. I think if any player goes out on loan here at Manchester United, they shouldn't come back, and they should get whatever they can in terms of a transfer fee for these players, because I think, looking from the outside in, they're trying to build a family unit here. They're trying to bond, and that's not going to happen if you're letting players go out on loan for 6 months, because you're not in it.
I fully agree with what you're saying. I do. I really fully agree with that. But my opinion is there is no way Xerxes, I've looked at it a couple of times and I've flipped and flopped on it, but I'm being straight now. So anyone, if I say any different further down the line, then you can quote this.
I'll pull up.
He'll pull it up.
Pull up.
Xerxes and Mainu are going nowhere. We've got players out in the AFCON competition, okay? So not just that, I've already stated earlier on in the video, right? This is a good squad, but it's not a strong squad. Not got the top quality. And we're going to need these players to come in when we've got injuries and all that. So for me, you can forget Xerxes and Mainu, okay, leaving this club to go out on loan or being told, no matter what they want, they better act in a professional manner. It looks that way at the moment. They're not getting much game time. And when they're coming on, they don't seem to be doing too much anyway. Like most of the substitutions, they're coming into a difficult time on the pitch. So for me, no one's going anywhere, especially Xerxes and Mainu. Anyone who was getting loaned out, in my opinion, has already been done so at the beginning of this season, okay? Because United had a plan and they've stuck to the plan. Tell me, Man United didn't know players were going to be leaving, right, in December and January. So if that's going to happen, what's the plan? They know what the plan is. Wilcox is telling you every week they're having meetings. So trust in that. Trust that they know what they're doing and that they've got a plan. Any loans have already been done, in my opinion, as I see how they're working in a professional manner. They are looking to the future. So they've definitely already looked to the January window. They've already looked to the summer transfer window, what they're going to do with players, loan them out, sell them, this, that and the other. They've done it for the 12 months already. And then when the summer comes, then they'll have a new strategy with certain players depending on what's available and what they want and what they don't want. That's how I see it.
Yeah, people mentioning Morton Holman, also mentioning Semenyo as well from Bournemouth. But I think a shout is going to be Conor Gallagher from Atletico Madrid come the January, and I think they could possibly maybe get him on loan as well, which will allow the players like Kobbie Mainoo to go out on loan. But me as a fan, like I stated, I'm uneasy about letting these players go out on loan with the thoughts of them thinking they can come back in the summertime. It doesn't sit right with me, to be honest, especially when they're trying to build something here for the future at United.
Listen, bringing in a loan player, Kieron talks about Conor Gallagher, okay? Absolutely madness, in my opinion, okay? Because you're going to bring in a loan player who's going to take time to get used to this system, okay? And these players. And by the time he gets used to it, the end of the season comes. That's how I see it, okay? And you're bringing in a loan player who doesn't play regular. So what's he going to bring you? What's he going to bring you that Kobbie Mainoo and Xerxes can't? That's how I look at it. And other players, we have other players chomping at the bit. And this is the year we need to introduce other players from the academy and things like that. And there'll only be 2, possibly 3. That's how I see it. If you're building for the future, don't bring in loan players. And I don't see the plan at the beginning of the season to bring in loan players in January. That's how I see it.
Maybe I should have elaborated a little bit more, but to get him on loan in January with the view to make it permanent in the summer. I mean, you let me know out there if you think it'd be a good signing, Conor Gallagher, especially if then we let Mainoo go out on loan. And you never know inside the club, forget my opinion and yours, inside the club, they might see that as smart business, that they see him that he can actually improve this current squad more than what Mainoo can. Who knows?
Yeah, well, listen, we'd all like this or we'd all like that. We don't know the future. Right, we're talking scenarios, giving our opinions and that.
Yeah. Right,
the future looks bright. That's all I know. And things will go up and go down, and things will change. Yeah. But for me, loans, I don't think there'll be any.
Yeah, a lot of you's getting involved with your opinions on that. In a couple of comments as well, mentioning Chido Obi as well. What's your thoughts? I don't think he'll get any game time in the short term, maybe towards the end of the season, possibly. But I think they're trying to look after these group of young players that they think have got a future here, not to put too much pressure on him.
I said a few months ago, I didn't see him playing for Manchester United this season. I said it, and people came back and went right at me. Yeah, he's a good player in the system, what he plays, and the age group and all that. But for me, I don't see him, right, as a Premier League footballer starting for Manchester United up front. It is definitely not what we want. That's an experiment, right, for the Carabao Cup when you couldn't care less about it, okay? That's when Obi should have been playing. Unfortunately, Grimsby told us a different story. We weren't even good enough for that. So for me, Obi, he's not in the plans this year.
I think as well that we need to see improvement as well with the actual midfield and number 10s as well in creating patterns of play with the centre forward, because I do think that's an area where we need to see improvement. So to throw a young kid in as well when that's not the finished article yet, I don't think it's the best move, to be honest.
Well, you're throwing a young kid in and taking Sesko out, who's a lot of money, who Jason Wilcox says he's an amazing striker. I think he's a good striker. You're playing one game a week. There is no vacancy, right, to gamble and experiment by bringing in Obi. It's the last thing what's in the mind of these people running this football club.
A lot of you's getting involved as well about the Spurs game on Saturday. I do believe Ruben Amorim's press conference is coming up as it stands. What we're on 1:10 right now, so that's coming up at 1:30. So we are going to end that there because we want to have a listen and a watch of it ourselves as well, so we can get another video done for you looking towards that Man United and Spurs game on Saturday. I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure everyone out there is up for it. Choo-choo. So get involved in that comment section, smash that like button, and we'll be back later on with another video. Take care, everyone. See you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.